And let me go for the second talk, which is ESQL for the win. Since this, I mean, it's not easy to marry sometimes water with the fire. So the Jug people, have you ever used ESQL? Okay, the Elastic people, have you ever used ESQL? Oh, there's a few. Nice, nice. So if I say like rubbish, you correct me, right? And vice versa. If I say something rubbish about Java, you correct me, right? Very nice. So I work, like I said initially, I work for Elastic, but not in the Netherlands, right? I'm from Poland. I'm also you can find me on socials if you need to annoy me due to whatever reasons. I love to be annoyed, right? Like Victor said, this is like our we really enjoy it, right? We enjoy being in a community. So if you have something like, please, by all means, interrupt us. And now the core concept for this second talk is, so how you read this, right? There's a new language, okay? And you don't read it ESQL or something like this. It's ESQL with the pipe inside, and it's intentional. We'll get to that. For the Java people who are not familiar very much with Elasticsearch, right? What it is, basically, I mean, don't quote me on this, right? It's massively oversimplified, but once you feed it with data you have from database, from wherever you have it, right? Once you feed it with data, you can start searching this data. It becomes your own engine for analytics as well, and supporting AI, with vector search and stuff like this. So there's this question, how many languages can be used for searching when you send a request to this underscore search endpoint? You can be off by 2.
Two?
I think you were really close. I was told there's 8. Which can be really confusing. I haven't used, of course, like everyone who has done anything with Elasticsearch has used query DSL, right? Kibana query language. Maybe Lucene if you really get something like native, but the others are really like specific to your use case, right? Or data you're processing. So there's this, right? This query DSL. Are there any JavaScript people in the room? Okay. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
We welcome everybody, right? But let
Maybe
me
TypeScript.
yeah
This is how they try to call themselves.
let me just highlight it that JSON, JS stands for JavaScript, right? So me being like a hardcore backend Java developer, I'm not necessarily a fan of queries like this, which also like explains why I'm so passionate about this talk, right? Because I really genuinely love this language, right? And I think it happened. It's great it happened eventually. Let me put it this way, right? And also, like, who loves writing aggregations like this? Yeah, and now we can imagine you can have like several of these, right? And compared to the good old SQL we know, it's not quite what the minions would.
Popularized by Mongo, I guess, in their query language. That's also yuck. We're not talking about this guy anymore.
No, I prefer to be welcoming, okay, in general. It's just my personal opinion is on this is it's like, it escalates. It's sometimes difficult to debug, because you've lost this curly brace. How do you add comments and so on, right? So here we have this new hero, right, which can be like 3 characters as well, called ESQL. So there's new endpoint underscore query, and you can send there only post requests, right? And as the name implies, it's a language for querying. It's not a language for like indexing more data, right? Or adding or putting more data into Elasticsearch. There's no JSON here. I'm lying a little bit, but at least in this picture, there's no JSON, okay? It's not JSON Statham, okay? Can you see? Yeah, okay, yeah. And this language, in my opinion, shines in 3, or in general, I would say in 3 aspects, right? Or yes, language, engine, and visualization. So let's talk first about the language itself. It has features, right? So it's piped query language because of the pipe. Supports both unstructured and structured data. It allows us to go for SQL-like filtering and data manipulation. And it supports lookups especially this got easier in recent versions, right? It's not the first piped query language. There are few which like raises this question, have you seen anything like this?
Yes.
What, who can tell me what does it do? Bad things. Okay, yes, that's the answer. Yeah, but you're familiar. So, like Victor said, everyone is familiar with the SQL. Or maybe I misunderstood. Yeah, everyone sort of like was dealing with such a nightmare, right? Or like approach, like you have steps, right? If you are a Java person, right, and perhaps some of us were yesterday to Jack, right? And Dr. Venkat explained the concept of Java stream. So you have like you start your stream from something, right? And you go step by step. So the concept of like processing data, enriching it, filtering, and so on in steps is not unknown in our community, right? But like it doesn't really matter what language you use, front end, back end, whatever. So there was this guy yesterday, this Utrecht guy.
He's all over the place.
Yeah, I had to, I was trying to take the picture, right? But I wasn't able to do it like, it was, the talk was so energetic, it's so fast, right? So, but let me try to zoom in. And Victor here is pointing to the from clause, right? And you said something.
Slides available on internet. You can go and.
Yeah, okay, I will grab the proper one, right? And it's so Victor pointed that actually when you read SQL, you should start from this from query, right? So what's actually the source of your data? If you do that in Java, you first create the stream, right? And then you go with the operations. You don't go for like select or something, you go with from, which means that probably you might like SQL because it starts with from. So this is the first clause you put from, and there's like index or indices. So this is the initial starting point, right? And then you have any number of steps you need that exist in the language, right? So you can do some filtering, right? Check if there's a precondition made. You can sort it like the data you have based on whatever, right? Then you can limit the number of the rows of documents you're processing in your query. Then you can keep select some fields. This is kind of like select in SQL, I would say. Nice thing is you can toss some comments, right, in there. You can do the opposite. You can say, I want everything but these fields. Okay, so this query does not necessarily make sense, right? This kind of like shows you what's possible in general. And you have more comments that spread across many lines, which is very useful. For example, if you work in observability and you need to, who has this file, okay, on their desktop, something like, I don't know, varia.txt, and it has this, all the queries you have to run to the back production or stuff like this, like script. Exactly, right? So if you put ESQL in this file, right, then it's easier for you to grab these, right, rearrange, add some comments, what the snippet is actually doing, and so on. So this language is designed in actual usability, right, and I would say user friendliness in mind, right? Good luck trying to do something with JSON. Question. You can put, I mean, if you put the comment here, you will comment the whole step, right? And this thing, I don't know, I wouldn't experiment putting it somewhere in there because I want to be, friendly with the other people. Yeah, but that's a nice homework. I should do that. Then how do you do how do you process unstructured data, right? You can go for dissect, and if you know like the pattern, you can create the new fields, right? Date, message, and IP out of field S. You can compute new stuff, right? So here we got date, which is like extraction of the year, which we converted it to another type from this date that we got here, right? So as you can see, you can like play with data, add some extra in SQL that would be columns, right? And here we have fields, and they're visible like down there, unless you go for like select or drop, of course. Sorry, keep and drop. You can have statistics, right? You can alias fields as in here. See, I can alias as count. Then I can have statistics on top of statistics. Because why not? See, and this is the concept of these steps or pipe steps that you can like put them up and down just as long as it makes sense. Here we can apply enrichment policy or enriching in general. So of course in Elasticsearch, because it's optimized or should be used for searching, normally we denormalize data, right? We try to keep it flat. But sometimes, right, you have just like reasons not to keep it like totally flat. So you have to go for enrichment policy. You might Google it, or as of recent versions like 8.18, I believe, we can go for lookup join. Basically, you have to create a lookup index, which is a special type of index called lookup, and it has limitation. For example, it can exist only on one shard, right? So you can't like have many shards of this, because it can't. I mean, if it would be in many shards, then it would be difficult to grab everything to perform. This acts basically as left join in SQL, right? So you can enrich your data either using enrich or lookup if you don't have enrichment policy. Then again, you can sort this time, for example, using different criteria. So as you can see, you can repeat the steps, right? It's not that you like in SQL, you have sorting or order by just in one dedicated place. You can put it many times, just whenever it makes sense for you, right? You can then limit, for example, for a different number, and so on, and so on, and so on, right? So this is basically how the language works. How to use this language in Java. So first, of course, you add dependency. I suggest the latest one because it has many nice things. And then when you create your client or have your client, yeah, you just go for eSQL and you query. Here goes the adapter, here's the actual query, and you can toss some extra parameters, right? And you have your result. And now the result can be of two things because we have two kinds of adapters. First, it's a result set SQL adapter. Anyone used JDBC in Java? Yeah, I mean, exactly. So if you use this guy, you will get good old non-result set. And you can just, whatever library you have using a result set, it's able to use it and consume it, right? Whereas this objects ESQL adapter will give you iterable of objects. Very handy, for example, the Java 17 and records and so on, right? Which means, for example, this. You have to go always with from info, unless you want to know which version it is, then you go show info. So from index or go show info, right? And this is like valid Java code. I just copied it from IntelliJ, right? Idea. See, I have this result set SQL adapter, right? Which is like should be closable and everything. This is text block from Java 15. Here you have the steps, right? Here you have fields that will get the, and I can get them in the result set, right? So I can check, for example, if I'm truly like connected to Java, sorry, to Elasticsearch 9.0, right? So this is how we get it, and this is proper result set, right? So it's, I don't know, Java 1.2 compatible, something like this. The other thing is, if you have this more sophisticated query, like which is like selecting most published authors in given years, then as you can see, I have parameters here, right? So what I can do here, I can say objects ESQL adapter of most published class, right? I toss these parameters, they will get injected here where these question marks are, and I will get this my iterable of published, right? So then I can, for example, create a list, and this is like the shortest snippet of I could make like in modern Java, right? So basically, you get this iterable of objects of this type that goes here. And since Java 16, it's really like this. So we have this this record, right? We can toss, for example, like rename these parameters, because see it's here first published and last published. I might have some assertions here to keep invariants, and that's really it. So you have this class to represent what you want to get from index called books. This is your queries, sorting, evaluation of stuff. You can just compute it, right? Fields that don't exist there. And then you just have in your hand, like you can go just publish.for, and you can go in a for each loop, right? And do it like this. So it works in Java. And what I like about this language, it's like this was impossible to do previously, because now if I don't understand the query I wrote in Java, I can just take it, copy and paste in Kibana, and it will give me results. And by default, and here where the light gets revealed, I get a JSON. So actually the JSON is, as you can see, this is how you send the query. You just go post query. This is the query, right? Triple quotes, and you go. But this is it. This is the snippet I actually copied from my IDE, right? And this is the answer. So we have metadata. You have the actual or array of actual values, right? But it's not that bad. by default, the format of the format of response is JSON, right? Not stata, just JSON. All right, but you can go format txt, and it will give you answer like, you know, this underscore at, you know, kind of like ASCII art assay, right? Response, or you can go for CSV, and then you can open it in Excel, right? Which is 40% of the whole IT in general.
40? 75. It's like
Okay,
financial markets cannot live without like Excel spreadsheet and stuff.
According to New Yorker, there's 75%. Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always thought, okay, so that's New York, because Silicon Valley must be YAML, right? So you can also go for YAML, and then you get your response in YAML as well, right? And of course, there's more formats. For example, your friends who are in data science would love, I was told, this arrow format, right? So you can just say whatever format you need, and this will be the output, right? If you want to run it like you just need HTTP client in any language you have, send this query, and this will be the response, right?
It's really sad to see how we forgot like the best there is, like XML.
XML. Okay. Okay. I will
drop them like the actual heroes.
I will put a complaint on your behalf then.
Yeah.
Yes, and then this also nice thing, like basically you can take this into the Discover, right, or in Kibana, and see this is exactly the same question, and I'm getting results. Of course, here's like an updated slide, and the nice thing is, like, if you go to ESQL demo Elasticsearch, you can try it there, right? The language, the features, and everything. Yes, and if you go for somewhat more sophisticated query like this, then it always it also gives you like visualization already. So this is what I like it as a backend guy, because it makes my debugging easier, right? I just take it from my IDE, or I craft it here, and when I have it crafted and I see like visually what it gives me, the documents and everything, I can take it back to my source code. Right? That's why I like it, because it's the same language for backend and for visualizations. Here is this enrichment by maybe let's, if you like, who has ever used enrichment policy? I'm asking, okay, so we have nice cluster of Elasticsearch people, but you were in, I guess you're cheating because you work for Elastic, right? Yeah. Yeah. So this is the way you can do. So we have like any number of source indices. We create this enrichment policy, which creates special enrichment on enrich index, which we can use then in enrich command. As you can see, this can be a little bit complicated, right? Which means that it was one of the things that was changed in recent versions, because in this language word GA in 8.14, if I'm not mistaken, right, after months and months and months of heavy work of developers Elastic, and the whole reasoning was this: instead of keeping it, you know, under carpet or in basement or whatever until it's, you know, perfect, I mean, feature rich, so it's like you can do whatever with this language. They said, okay, it's good enough, it's feature rich enough, so let's release it and add more and more features with each and every release, right? So this is what happened. For example, we have now repeat function, for example, and many more. We have this per aggregation filters in stats that look like this. So you can go, for example, like these were and have this this conditional count, right? And divided by service. There is like a match function which works nice for full text you know, search, right? If you have to go, like some people say, this is like the most elemental use of Elasticsearch, like full text search. This is it, right? You will go for match. Query string. Now we can also use score. The lookup join, which is this thing I have shown you, and I will explain next slide. Or Kibana query language. So if you have some like snippets in KQL, right, because you use it in Kibana, now you can put it inside the KQL function, and it will also do like a job for you, and then you can like gradually refactor it, improve it, and so on. And this is how lookup looks on runtime. It's somewhat simpler than the enrichment policy, right? And I would say that yeah, has some pros, has some cons, but it's easier to understand, I would say, conceptually, if you're coming, for example, from SQL world, right? So yes, this is this lookup join. It's similar to enrich. Here are the differences and or like limitations. It's like this SQL behavior, right? And it avoids this index time processing. So for example, if you need to run this query just once, for example, because you need to create financial report, like let's say once every month, right? There is no need to like index and enrich the data every time someone adds a document or something like this, because you would be like, byte shedding for this single query, which is run just once. And it's absolutely fine if it runs, for example, for, I don't know, half a second longer, right? So I very much like relate to what you say, just find when you really need speed, right? Because maybe you don't need it everywhere. Also, being like green and in terms of energy consumption and everything. Yes, like I said, the biggest perhaps limitation is like it has to live in this lookup index, which is special index, new type. Let's now talk about the engine, okay? I will see if we have time, I will try to run some demos, but let's now talk about the engine, because when you run a query against underscore query, it hits a new engine, okay? And there's this wall of text. I don't want you to read it. That's why I extracted the most important part, okay? It's a separate component, okay? And it has different performance characteristics, okay? Different, I mean, we would all love to be here like always better, but it's just different. And why is it so, or what's the secret ingredient behind this separate component? Well, this is what you see when you run this query. So you can now run Elasticsearch and Kibana for like 1 month trial free license locally, right? I enjoy it like a lot. This is not how you run for production. This is for like playing on your own machine. Just as long as you have Docker, right, installed on your machine, it will run. And then as you can see, when I run this, like list me all processes, then you see it runs the latest Java version, right? And the other thing is it's enabling this Java incubator vector, right? So there's like incubator, it's for Java 24, I'm not sure it's 8th or 9th incubator, right? What it basically does is using the power of the CPU. Now, I don't have such great drawings because I didn't pay AI, I did it like on my own. So please excuse me, right? I hope it will explain stuff. So let's say I'm recruiting you, right? And you have this task. There are two arrays. There's one array and another array, and we want the results in this array, and the computation is the following. You take first element from here, first from here, you sum them, and you put the like A plus B here, right? So how do you do that? It's not a tricky question. It's like computer science 101. How do you do that? Seriously.
Join.
Yeah, exactly. This is like you go with for each loop, right? So what you end up with is this: like you take first element, summarize, put them. Second, summarize, put them, and so on, right? It's not efficient, and it's wasting the silicon we have in our CPUs. Because what you can do with modern CPUs is like this SIMD, single instruction multiple data operations, which means, for example, this: if you have a CPU with a registry of 128 bytes. It's like sophisticated mathematics now people watch, okay? And we want to summarize integers. An integer in Java is how big? 32 bits. Yeah, so it means this. You can take, or we can take, these first 4 elements, right? They will all fit into a register of our CPU. Then we can take first 4 elements from the second array into another register, run one instruction, right, CPU, and then have the result is just one CPU cycle. And now, depending, of course, on the size of this and the size of your registries, you get different performance characteristics, okay? So sometimes it's a bit slower, many times it's faster, okay? It depends on your use case, but this is actually, I somewhat oversimplified it, but this is how ESQL in many cases is faster than query DSL, okay, for the same use case. This is a benchmark taken some time ago when ESQL was hitting the thing, and you can see the drop here. So as you can see, sometimes just regular search aggregation framework is faster than ESQL, as you can see in this example. But you might be wondering, hey, he's showing like ESQL benchmark, so why this thing, like search aggregations, got improved so much? Well, the answer is simple. I was told, and this happened before I joined, or more or less when I was, like a week before I joined Elastic. When implementing ESQL, this new separate component, folks saw, oh gosh, we can actually improve the like the classic thingy as well, because we've learned, this is the second time we implement this. So they backported the implementation, part of it. Okay, so that's why, because there's a new language, the old language also got improved, which means if you're staying on Elasticsearch 7 something, you burn money, okay, needlessly, basically, even if you don't go for ESQL. Now, the last part is visualization. So, sorry, like I'm not JavaScript person, right? So I could play it, but I pre-prepared something. This is Kibana, right? The discovery view. And how do you switch to ESQL? You just click this button over here, right? And it will switch you to, or take you to this mode where you can enter your query in ESQL, right in here. And there's another button then, which you can click, ESQL help. And once you click it, it reveals you this context menu. And then, for example, you can click this quick reference, and it will take you, and in the same window, you will have, for example, you can start searching for functions, right, and so on. So you see the documentation, right, in the very same window. So you don't even have to like use 2 monitors or like switch tabs or whatever, right? It's right in front of your eyes. Always be friends with this this Spanish guy called Manuel. Yes, and this is like, just let me conclude with this visualization. See, this is somewhat more sophisticated query, but I didn't write it, okay? Once you click in this ESQL help, it will also like show you templates for like suggested queries or something like this. So if you need time buckets, it will go for this auto bucket and everything. And see, this is the what is shown by default, right? Or automatically. And say, I don't like this chart. I need something else, right? So no problem, you can just go and say, for example, I need a pie chart, right? And so on, and you can then save it as, lengths and so on. So instead of just one language, which was Kibana core language, you can also now use ESQL for visualizing data, searching for the, incidents, if you have like, logs, open telemetry, whatever you use Elastic for, right? Elasticsearch, I mean. Here's a video, sorry, because it's nicer than my backend skills. See, so here you see query being typed, right? And you can see it's like auto completion based on what you have in your indices. But that's why I like it, because I can type it here and then take it back to my Java code or JavaScript or Python or whatever language I write. And as you can see, the visualization changes, right? So, and then I add more steps. So it's statistics. Now I'm sorting by country. We can save this, right, for future use. And we can clone it. And we can tune it now, for example. And this is the beauty of it, right? So you can easier, I hope, see, yeah, we have a new one. Sorry, I that was tuned and now it's cloned. Okay, sorry. And yeah, not just 12, but let's now go for regions. Not countries, but regions. Naming, remember, naming is important, right? And copy and paste, of course. And 15 regions, and let's see them as a cloud tag, for example, right? So this is how we can easily reuse it then, and for like different stuff. Sorry, it's, yeah. There are limitations in this language still, okay? Of course, there's like a backlog or wanted feature list and so on. So if you want a feature, like you like to vote for it, of course, let us know. Maybe I won't open the list. there are a few things, for example, I still miss personally that there is no support for dense vectors, which means my stuff that supports the AI, the Gen AI, still has to be written using Core DSL, right? Because I can't use ESQL for this because it's still not there. But at least there is like full text search to be used. If you need our help, again, this is not developer Confluent IO, right? This is Elastic for you.
You
So,
remembered.
yeah, of course. Now it's time for you to remember. If you want to discuss something with us, you go for discuss Elasticsearch. Okay, see, it's here. Discuss Elasticsearch, right? So it's not like we want to discuss stuff with you. So this is our forum, right? It's not like for of course, like you have like the paid contract or something. You have like different channels. But this is, let's say, open source / free tier for everyone, for community. You go discuss Elasticsearch. You can even tag me there, right, or any of us. And this is probably the easiest way to get in touch directly with like developers, right? That work on all these features. They will get involved into answering your questions. If you're more of a Slacky person, you can go for elasticstack.com. If you want to go for a meetup like this, and also these pages, and you want to go for meetups in other cities, because European cities, it's not only, we have like one in London, we have two in Poland, and so on. This is your starting point for these. So again, you don't have to remember, just scan it, right? Or go for elastic.co community. So it will take you to, or navigate you to places. Now, one other thing I do is just sometimes you work in companies so people can't come to like a venue like this. So I run as a developer advocate a thing called Brown Bag Lunch, which basically is like free meetup on your premises, or you can do it virtually, right? So if you'd like me to go on like your private meetup during lunch, for example, lunch break at your company, contact me. There's no NDA, no consulting, nobody pays anyone a penny, right? It's totally free both ways, right? And then we can talk about Elastic related stuff, right? Bring then your lunch in a brown bag, right? Something delicious, I hope, and we can stuff. See, so we try to take the community to you as much as we can. We need your help, right? So if you'd like to rate my talk, or just like not rate maybe, but like tell me, share with us what you like, what you didn't like. This is your time. This is anonymous unless you want to introduce yourself. It's just a Google form. I'm sorry I didn't have any time to play demos. I have like a Java demo ready. There is like this, I have like, I don't know, 3 dozen of nice queries which you can use. Maybe we can do this extended interrogation right after pizza. Or what you can do is this. You can go for ESQL demo Elasticsearch if all you have is your browser, okay? Just to play with the language. What you can do if you want to run this stuff locally, if you have Docker, you go for this command and it will start Elasticsearch and Kibana locally on your machine, okay? Of course, you can go for trial as well. That's 2 or 3 weeks or free trial at Cloud Elasticsearch if you want to make your hands dirty. If you need something to play with, it's this. This is, of course, the manual, okay? So it's current documentation. See, it has current. So it's like following the releases. This is the gist I prepared for you. So this is like a bunch of these ESQL commands, so we can play with them, see what's working, how it's working, and so on. And this is the Java code demo if you want to see these queries actually running. There's like test containers and everything, so that should do for you. That would be all for today in the official part, because I was waived. The pizza is there, right? So thank you very much. I won't keep you hungry then.